This is part two, three more speakers. First is the Reverend Craig Moro. He's a graduate of the University of Chicago and the Star King School for the Ministry. He's lived and studied in India, Singapore, Thailand, the Netherlands, and Japan. He's served churches in California, Illinois, and the Pacific Northwest, and is a founding member of the Tri-Cities Interfaith Alliance in Washington. He now lives in Portland, where until August he served the Y-East UU congregation half-time. He's now retired. His sermons are often informed by readings in the original languages of religious texts, including Arabic, Hebrew, and Tamil, and are known for blending scholarship with plain speech and a sense of humor. So here is the Reverend Craig Moro speaking on 7 principles beyond segregation and hierarchy.
Thanks very much, Richard. Richard just read my preaching biography, which is good because what I'll give is probably going to have a little bit of a sermonic form because that's what I know how to do. And at one point, very shortly, I'm going to read the 7 principles. I know that takes a little bit of time, but I think it's worth hearing them, especially since they're under so much threat right now. Unitarian Universalists affirm the shared humanity and transcendent potential of every individual from every human group. We reject any and all hierarchies of human beings based on physical characteristics. We reject any and all moral hierarchies based on sexual identity or preference, national origin, language, or religious affiliation. We reject the notion that the needs of the human species justify degradation of the natural environment at the expense of other species or the non-organic structures of that environment. We revere beauty as something far deeper than physical appearance, and I'll talk a bit about beauty in a minute. And we celebrate freedom. We make all of this plain, not through negative statements, not by taking a hostile stance, but by affirming and promoting 7 clear positive principles: the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience and the use of democratic process within our congregations and in society at large, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. These principles serve as 7 guiding stars, but stars are more than points of distant light. They have heat and mass and gravity. They pull us towards themselves while they also radiate power towards us, through us, and beyond us. Their pull and their penetration are one, indivisible and irresistible. Why would a religious movement ask or settle for anything less? Each clearly meets the definition of a principle, a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of belief or behavior or a chain of reasoning. Principles should be as close to forever and always in their scope and intent as we limited human beings can manage to put into words. They should also be easy to understand, even for those who may not agree with them completely or at all. Ours move in a beautiful arc from the individual to society, to the cosmos, and back again. An open, expanding circle that includes everyone and everything. They end at the right moment, leaving us in reverent silence within the, quote, interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. There is no desperation in the 7 principles, no exasperation, no rush. Rather, there's a transcendent confidence and a transcendent patience. But make no mistake, while these principles and the attendant sources emphasize what's best about religion, they're also poised in opposition to the worst ideas that have been paraded through the world under banners of faith and service to divine will, capital letters. Always watch out for those capitals mid-sentence. Speaking of banners, I'll never forget the ones in our local UU church many years ago. Minister The Reverend Dr. Sundar Joshi was from India. He's one of the people who inspired my eventual learning of one of the languages of India in my time there. Well, when a house in the middle of my cul-de-sac block came up for sale, Dr. Joshi made an offer to buy it. But when the homeowner, an outspoken member of the John Birch Society, heard that an Oriental wanted to purchase the house, he took it off the market. So he wouldn't be responsible for the neighborhood going any further downhill. What with Jews, the Kissels, and Italians, the Moros, already occupying both corner houses and staining a nice Goldwater neighborhood with "Vote for Johnson" signs in their picture windows. He was acting on some beliefs that he held with a religious fervor, beliefs that human groups should remain separate and in a hierarchical order. And it was Dr. Joshi who performed the majority of ethnically or religiously mixed marriages in our town. I've heard that for many decades, UU ministers did a large portion, perhaps a majority, of such marriages, offering acceptance and encouragement when other religious leaders would not. I wonder if current UU ideology, the junta's ideology, that often mandates separate worship and conversation spaces, offers the same support. Would they be behind these mixed marriages? I don't know. Although his bid to buy that house on my block fell through, Dr. Joshi carried on with his work, guiding his shared house of worship. He commissioned beautiful banners, some of the first I've ever seen like this, representing the world's great religious traditions to hang in front of the sanctuary. That's what struck me when I first stepped inside. Such banners predate our current statement of principles and sources, but anticipate them in important ways. We, at our deepest selves, the core of our being that all religions speak of, belong together, like those banners do. It's not a matter of blurring what's distinct about each one, no. But look at them up in front of the sanctuary. Is that not something beautiful? Don't these signs of faith all together form something?
Craig, do you want me to show that thing?
Oh, yeah, show. Yeah, we were a little concerned about copyright, so we'll show a carving I did for the Salem Church. You want to pop that up, Richard?
Yeah, I will.
I forgot about it. There you go. That's a carving I was commissioned to do for the UU Church of Salem, Oregon. I built a bunch of custom wood stuff for them. And then when I first appeared in the pulpit, they said, "What the heck's the cabinet maker doing in the pulpit?" So thanks for showing that, Richard. That's very much in the spirit of those banners. So we could take that down or leave it up as you prefer. So, okay, you look at them and they're beautiful when they're together. Don't these signs of faith all together form a thing of beauty? And where does that beauty lead your heart? Strong principles and strong aesthetics work together. And you can't mess with one without messing with the other, right? Okay, what are the best things about religion? Here are a few from my list. One is engagement with questions and teachings about the meaning of an earthly life that won't last forever. We don't know about beyond the earthly life, right? Spiritual practices and insights that deepen our experience of such a life and help to bring us peace of mind. Calls for compassionate relations with our fellow human beings and with the natural world. A sense that we're all one, no matter how we may seem to differ on the surface. Shared music and the pleasures of table fellowship, from coffee and cookies to potluck meals and food drives. A community of people who know and care for each other. I'm sure you can think of other examples, stuff I missed. But now, what are some of the worst things about religion? Here are a few. Banning and shunning of those judged to be sinners. Inquisitions, trials, torture, fatwas, threats and punishment. Burning of heretics, non-believers, or their books. Or even the best, when you burn the heretics over their books. That's a good one. A central absolute authority that dictates belief and acceptable language, shibboleths and magic passwords, regular confessions of sin before designated authority figures, an ever-expanding list of forbidden actions and censored words, humorlessness, joylessness, separation of people into the elect and the damned, promoting a state of war between our people and their people, the children of light and the children of darkness, the clean and the impure, and so on. Well, while clearly embodying what's best, each of our principles is antithetical to one or more features about what's worst about religion, features of what's worst about religion. The inherent worth of dignity of every person opposes our people versus their people, children of light versus children of darkness, and so on. Worth and dignity for every person, no exceptions. The second principle elaborates this into an action framework, even in cases of conflict or competing interest. Exercise justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, never their opposite. The golden rule for everyone, no exceptions. The third is a game plan for daily interaction and a location for its practice, encouragement and acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. The congregation is understood as a dojo, a circle, or a center for practice. If you've done martial arts, you've heard that. Dojo means the way place, a place where a specific way is practiced. So usually churches are dojos for that acceptance and encouragement. The fourth principle opposes prescribed, constricted, or restricted approaches to truth with a completely open approach to search and discovery, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Learn however you can and put it into practice to the best of your ability. No banned books, no banned discussions. The fifth rejects authoritarian decision-making by prescribing its opposite, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. Conscience means the conscience of every individual who enters into the challenge and promise of democracy with other individuals. We reject all religious models that impose director-directed, king-subject, or slave-master relations. The sixth principle applies the first on a global scale. Respect for inherent worth and dignity means acting like we are all one people, everyone and everywhere. No individual and no group will be made a victim or used as a target, not even for righteous causes, not in a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. The seventh places all the others on a cosmic scale, the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And it rejects the notion of a dirty world that must be purged by fire or water for its corruption, that must be dismantled or destroyed in homage to a fantasy about a new Jerusalem, a pure land, a kingdom of God, etc. Do we really think we need to be born again in a rush of pain and blood? Think about what you're calling for. These principles have a powerful structure and a powerful flow from first to last, and offer constant suggestions for both variety and continuity in preaching and religious education. Whoever says that the order doesn't matter has not paid attention. We put first things first in any list for a reason. And the same is true of the last. The first item in a list serves as a strong introduction to the rest of it, a greeting and a stirring call. And there's a special power in the last item, a farewell, a blessing, and a promise to meet again. Whoever says the number of principles is not important has not spent much time with the sources of the ancient traditions from which our movement grows. There's no number more resonant than the number 7. But we'll have to let that discussion take a Sabbath rest until another day. For now, let's continue with today's discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, Craig.